Mazda's secret V6 was never meant to win magazine covers or outrun Ferraris. It was a late 1980s gamble, a compact, all-aluminum V6 engineered for cars sized like Civics, yet spinning towards 7,000 RPM with a silkiness few rivals dared chase. Most drivers missed it entirely, but for those paying attention, the K-Series wasn't just a hidden engine, it was the blueprint for how Mazda quietly rewrote the rules under everyone's nose. Why risk everything on an overlooked idea? The answer starts here. Late in the 1980s, inside Mazda's boardrooms, the conversation circled around risk. Japanese automakers were chasing new territory. Lexus and Infiniti had launched, and Mazda wanted its own answer. The Uno's brand was on the table, promising a step up in refinement and image. But to stand out, Mazda needed more than badges and brochures. They needed an engine that could deliver the feel of a luxury car, but sized for the tax realities of Japan's crowded roads. The solution wouldn't be a big, thirsty V6. It had to fit under the 2.0-liter tax ceiling, yet offer the smoothness and poise that defined more expensive cars. Engineers brought forward a compact, all-aluminum V6, something unheard of in cars this size. The numbers told the story. A 60-degree block for natural balance, dimensions tight enough for the short hoods of front-wheel drive sedans and coupes. At a critical meeting around 1989, Mazda's leadership weighed the costs against the promise. The prototype's ultra-low hood line and vibration charts made their case. This wasn't just about performance, it was about a new kind of driving experience, one that could make everyday cars feel special. The decision landed. Mazda would pay the premium for a V6 that didn't just fit, but redefined expectations. This move wasn't an accident or a marketing afterthought. It was a deliberate gamble to give compact cars the silk and character of something far more expensive. The outcome would shape not just Unos, but a whole generation of Mazdas, and it started with a signature that greenlit the K-Series project. Mazda's K-Series V6 began with a shape and substance that set it apart from nearly everything else on the market. The engineers chose a 60-degree V-angle, a geometry that let the engine run with natural balance, sidestepping the need for balance shafts or extra counterweights. That decision alone gave the K-Series a kind of quiet confidence, with less vibration and a silkier feel than the 4s and wider V6s common in the era. Aluminum was used everywhere it mattered: block, heads, even the split crankcase. This wasn't about shaving ounces for marketing. It was about building an engine light enough to fit the short hoods and tight engine bays of Mazda's new front-drive platforms. The result was a V6 that weighed in closer to a typical 4-cylinder, helping keep the car's nose light and steering sharp. Inside, the K-Series ran dual overhead cams and 24 valves with direct-acting hydraulic lifters for precise control. The crankcase itself was split for extra rigidity, and forged steel internals were chosen for strength. The valvetrain was designed to spin freely, with a red line brushing 7,000 RPM, a figure more at home in sports cars than commuter sedans. Every choice here was deliberate. A compact, all-aluminum engine, balanced by design, eager to rev, and light enough to change how a car felt in your hands. This mechanical DNA would become the foundation for every trick Mazda would add next. Mazda's Variable Resonance Induction System, or VRIS, is the unsung hero behind the K-Series V6's surprising torque and flexibility. Instead of relying on forced induction or big displacement, Mazda's engineers turned to acoustics, specifically the Helmholtz resonance principle, to coax more power from every intake stroke. Inside the K-Series manifold, 3 distinct chambers are linked by computer-controlled butterfly valves. As the engine climbs through the rev range, the ECU commands these valves to open or close at precise moments, typically around 3,250 RPM for the first switch, and again near 5,750 RPM for the second. Each change alters the effective length of the intake path, tuning it like an organ pipe to amplify pressure waves that help pack more air into the cylinders. The science is elegant. When the intake valve snaps shut, a pressure wave bounces back and forth inside the chamber. If the timing is just right, the next valve opening catches this wave, ramming extra air into the combustion chamber. More air means more oxygen, and that translates directly into a fatter, more usable torque curve, especially in the mid-range where street driving happens. On a dyno, these transitions show up as small but clear bumps in torque, right at the programmed switch points. Drivers feel it as a seamless surge. No sudden lurch, just a steady, confident pull as the engine comes alive. Unlike older passive systems, VRIS is always thinking, always adapting, with the ECU making split-second decisions based on ERPM and load. The result is a V6 that feels bigger than its size, with real-world response that shames many larger engines. This is the K-Series' secret handshake. Smart intake tuning, not brute force, delivers the punch where it matters most. Mazda's appetite for experimentation didn't stop at variable intake runners. In the mid-1990s, the company set its sights on a different puzzle: how to give a mid-size luxury sedan the punch of a larger engine, but with fuel economy that could rival smaller cars. The answer arrived in the form of the KJ-ZEM, a 2.3-liter V6 that rewrote the rules with the Miller cycle and a twin-screw supercharger. Unlike the more familiar Otto cycle, the Miller cycle keeps the intake valves open longer during the compression stroke, reducing the work the engine has to do. The catch? This approach usually saps low-end torque, leaving engines feeling weak off the line. Mazda's fix was bold. Bolt on a Lysholm-type supercharger to force-feed air into the cylinders, reclaiming the lost grunt and giving the Millennia S a smooth, elastic surge that belied its modest displacement. The KJ-ZEM produced around 210 horsepower and 294 newton-meters of torque in its Japanese specification, numbers that stood out in the segment, especially considering the engine's efficiency. The supercharger's instant response and quiet operation made it a natural fit for a luxury mission, delivering strong mid-range power without the lag or harshness of a turbo. The Millennia S, the only mainstream production car to use this setup at the time, became a showcase for Mazda's willingness to try what others wouldn't. The KJ-ZEM's combination of delayed valve timing, supercharged induction, and all-aluminum construction earned it a spot on Ward's 10 Best Engines list for several years running. It wasn't just a technical flex, it was proof that luxury and clever engineering could live side by side if you had the nerve to build something this different. Each K-Series V6 found its own voice depending on where it landed and how it was tuned. The KF 2.0-liter, fitted to the Zeto 6 and 323F, thrived in markets shaped by Japan's strict tax rules, delivering up to 160 horsepower while keeping owners below the 2.0-liter ceiling. The KLDE, a 2.5-liter, powered the MX-6, 626, and Ford Probe GT, offering around 164 to 170 horsepower with a smooth, flexible character. In Japan and select exports, the KLZE took the same block and pushed it to 200 horsepower with higher compression and more aggressive cams. Each calibration reflected local priorities, refinement for some, rawer performance for others. Enthusiasts quickly found the KLZE was more than just a spec sheet hero. JDM importers began shipping these high-compression V6s across oceans, fueling a cottage industry of swaps. In garages from California to the UK, MX-3s and MX-6s received heart transplants, trading their stock engines for KLZEs that pushed real-world power to 200 horsepower. Dyno sheets from community forums told the story: wheel horsepower jumped by 30 or more, with torque curves that stayed strong all the way to redline. Swapped MX-3s, still nimble up front, stunned at track days, proof that Mazda's best V6 in the right hands could turn a commuter into a cult classic. Keeping a K-Series V6 happy starts with the basics: a full timing belt and water pump service, fresh vacuum hoses for the intake actuators, and new ignition parts. Cracked hoses or worn belts are the most common culprits behind lost performance. For Millennia S owners, supercharger parts and sensors can be tough to source, so preventive care matters even more. Technicians know, stay ahead on these details, and the engine rewards you every drive. In 1991, Mazda introduced its K-Series V6, an all-aluminum 60-degree engine designed to deliver refinement and performance in compact cars. Over the next decade, this engine family powered models like the MX-3, 323F, Z06, MX-6, and Millennia, and included rare high-compression and Miller cycle supercharged variants that remain benchmarks for smoothness and innovation. Documents confirm that VRES intake technology and the Miller cycle's supercharged efficiency were ahead of their era, yet the exact internal discussions behind Mazda's decision to end K-Series development in favor of newer engines remain unpublished. Today, these engines are prized by enthusiasts for their balance, response, and unique engineering, traits that modern turbocharged 4s often lack. While some factory records and dyno sheets have surfaced, full technical archives and engineering meeting notes are still restricted. What endures is clear. Mazda's K-Series V6 proved that sophistication and character can be found in the unlikeliest of places, shaping the way drivers and engineers think about performance to this day.